Greetings dear friends, in this video we will assemble the roof from start to finish and lay the roofing on bare rafters. Let's go, the delivery has arrived with all the components. First, we unloaded all the oriented strand board sheets, which will serve as the roofing base, then all the underlayment, and after that, the flexible shingles. The boss of course doesn't handle the unloading but supervises the situation and controls the process. Next, we stack all the packs of flexible shingles in a crisscross pattern, a few cans of mastic and a fixer to coat the underlayment and the flexible shingles. There are also eaves strips, ridge aerators and so on. After we've unloaded everything, we can start the installation. First, we will lay the diffusion membrane for wind and water protection, which will go over our rafters. We start laying it from the bottom, then the next layer goes above, creating a 15 cm overlap. Next, I nail 50 by 50 mm bars which will serve as a ventilation gap between the membrane and the roof itself in the future. We nail these bars with 120 mm nails. Of course, it's pretty difficult to work alone. I've already tried it, so I know that it's much easier to do this with a helper. After laying all the bars, we start installing our battens so that it will be easy to lay the next layer of the diffusion membrane. We nail the battens with 70 mm nails. The idea is that the nail will only go into the bar and won't make any extra holes in the membrane. Now we start laying the next layer of membrane, and now you can safely stand on the battens. There are some issues that need to be fixed while installing, like protruding crossbars that can damage our insulation. I also wanted to show you that we treated the bars with Shingle and our antiseptic completely eliminated all the blue mold. Next, we lay the next set of bars and then we can continue installing the battens. On this day, we installed all the hydro wind protection, nailed all the bars, laid part of the battens. Now we're moving to the other side, also laid the first layer, nailed all the bars and started installing the battens at the bottom. For reinforcement, our boards are placed tightly one after another. There will be 6 of them which will bear the main snow load on the roof slope. The battens are arranged in a staggered pattern so that the joints are not in a straight line. We also use special bars to measure the spacing between the battens. It's much more convenient this way. You just lay the board on these bars and nail it right away. We also measure the ridge right away, which will later hold our future aerator, and that's it. Our batten is ready. After measuring all the diagonals, we cut a straight, even overhang on the edges of the roof. We immediately attach the soffit bar so that later we can neatly finish and trim all the inner sides. And now we have a beautiful, even batten. After calculating all the loads on our roof, it turned out that the batten would not be enough. So we added extra boards, making the distance between them 12 centimeters. We also trim everything evenly with a circular saw and fasten everything securely with screws. Now our batten has become strong and sturdy and no snow load will be a problem for it. We also add a windboard to our end overhang and later it will be trimmed at the angle we need. Now we can start installing the oriented strand board. We begin from the bottom, laying the oriented strand board sheets in a staggered pattern so that our seams don't line up. We fasten all of this with self-tapping screws, and the gap between the oriented strand board sheets is 3 to 5 millimeters. This is in case the oriented strand board expands or contracts due to moisture. The roof will stay just as even, and these changes won't affect the future of our roofing. I screwed in the self-tapping screws every 20 centimeters and in the center of the sheet about every 25 centimeters. We also laid the sheets flush with the ridge so that no sheet would hang over. After finishing one part of the roof, we move on to the second part. We also use regular 100 mm nails, which at the same time keep the oriented strand board from sliding off the roof and also serve as our gap between the sheets. We have prepared the roofing base for our future flexible shingles, fully installed all the oriented strand board on our roof, and it turned out pretty well. Everything is even and neat. Now we can safely start laying the underlayment. After we carried the oriented strand board up the ladder, I started thinking a bit and I realized what I should have done a long time ago. We use this type of scaffolding because our house has many holes. You can easily slide boards inside, nail them in, secure them, and throw a platform on top that you can walk on in the future. After we've laid the oriented strand board, we can now install the cornice strip. We nail it in with ring shank nails, driving a nail every 15 centimeters in a staggered pattern. We chose a brown drip edge, which will fit perfectly with the color of our roof. We've installed the drip edge, so now we can start laying the underlayment. The first underlayment we're using is Techno-Nickel Under Ultra. It's self-adhesive and sticks very firmly to the oriented strand board. We lay it evenly so that it covers all the nails we've driven into the cornice strip and make sure it's stretched tightly to avoid any bubbles. Laying it alone is quite a challenge. It's pretty heavy without a helper. It was very difficult to do, which wasn't shown in this video. This underlayment is also secured with ring shank nails. We drive them in every 15 centimeters in a staggered pattern. Then I cut off the excess part of our underlayment flush with the edge of our roof. After the Under Ultra underlayment, we use the Under Pro underlayment. This one is attached only with mechanical fasteners, and it's also much easier to roll it out over the roof. This underlayment, just like Under Ultra, can also serve as a temporary roof for up to 6 months. That means we can lay it down and calmly wait for the weather that suits us. For the job, there are special markers here showing where to drive in the ring shank nails. After we've secured the overlap, we need to apply Fixer 23 mastic with a spatula in a layer about 1 mm thick. We carefully coat everything and glue our underlayment, then smooth it out so there are no waves, bubbles, and so on. And now we repeat the process we've already done. We fasten the underlayment, nail down the next sheet, apply mastic, and glue it all together. The main difficulty with the installation is that we have a very steep roof slope, 37 degrees. On a roof with a less steep slope, it's much easier to roll out these underlayments. Basically, you just toss it and it unrolls by itself. Of course, there are certain difficulties here because it's very hard to stand on the roof, but we still managed it easily and everything turned out great. Now I'm showing you the finished result. All the membranes are installed on the ridge, glued, and we can start installing the edge strips. They are nailed on top of the membrane, which tightly secures it. Next, we nail the edge strips in a staggered pattern, every 15 centimeters in 2 rows. As you can see, I have no difficulty with the installation anymore. I can easily stand on such a steep slope now. After we've installed our underlayment membrane and the edge strips, we can start laying the flexible shingles. I brought several packs right away because I'll be keeping an eye on our pattern and the color of the roof. This is done to make sure the roof pattern comes out even and nice, and so the color of the roof is uniform as well. That's why I'll be taking shingles from different packs, but I'll explain and show everything during the process. I'll be using flexible shingles from the company Techno-Nickel Rancho, bronze color. These shingles don't have any film, so there's nothing to peel off. They can be installed right away. So, there are special strips for transportation that you don't need to touch, and there's a special adhesive strip that will bond our shingles. The first row of flexible shingles is the starter strip, so it needs to be coated with a 1 mm layer of mastic. You also need to apply mastic to the strip that will go along the edge flashing. We press everything down carefully, align it in a straight line, and make a cut at the corner. This is for our future water flow so that it doesn't get under the shingles. I leave just over 1 centimeter between the edge strip and the flexible shingles, and then we simply start each one, applying mastic and glue to the shingles. I picked up speed very quickly, and now I'm showing the result of what I've got. I've already installed 3 rows of shingles, the 4th one is underway. You can see here, look, this shingle is trimmed by 20 centimeters, and the next shingle will go on and cover the previous row. I also lay it in such a way that it covers all our ring shank nails. After applying mastic to the edge, we can easily fasten the shingle onto our ring shank nails, the nails. I nail it right along the white lines so the nail goes through 3 layers, and especially in hot weather when the shingle heats up, it will stick very firmly to the nail. This will prevent any leaks, even if water passes right next to the nail, which is almost impossible unless you have some kind of damage on the roof. Next, I just keep fastening the shingles. You can notice a certain pattern, how each shingle is covered by another shingle. Of course, you can make different patterns, but I wanted to make it so that each square covers the line of the previous squares. It seemed to me that this looks like a kind of continuation of the shingles and creates a certain 3D pattern, especially if you look at the roof from the ground or from a distance. I've nailed on many shingles and they're already firmly glued. It's tough to remove them now. You really have to try. They won't come off by themselves. It's already set on the glue and the sun has baked it on well. Now you can see the beautiful 3D pattern. Notice how the shingles form a checkerboard layout. This way there won't be any leaks in the future. It's hard to work alone on a slope like this, but with a helper, it's definitely easier. I'm up top nailing the shingles while my helper cuts them and arranges the patterns down below. We're almost done with one side and it looks just beautiful. Next, I want to share another life hack with you. I kept thinking about how to cut the shingles evenly, and I came up with this solution. I put a piece on the spot where I'm going to make the cut, then I take a metal pencil with a metal tip that scratches the metal. It's very sharp, strong, and doesn't get dull. And it's very convenient to scratch the necessary straight line with it. After scratching it like that, you can cut the tile with any scissors. It cuts very easily because it becomes very thin, and that's it. After that, I can calmly lay the tile. It lines up perfectly with the previous cut. Here, I want to show that the tile is already fitting up to the next line. Here we need to have an overlap so that there are no leaks. I'm setting the overlap to 20 centimeters. We will cut it right here. This way there won't be any issues, and the next row and its seams won't line up with the seams of the previous row. We still use this metal pencil and regular scissors, cut it straight and neatly and do it for ourselves. That's why I'm not worried about the time at all. We finished the second part of our slope, got closer to the ridge, and as we start cutting off the excess piece here, the ridge will go here. Next, we need to cut through our underlayment because it's blocking the ventilation of the under roof space, so I cut it off completely. Now I'm starting to install the ridge aerators from Techno-Nicole. They are installed on the cutout area and secured with self-tapping screws. Then we attach special ridge shingles on top. We continue by cutting the underlayment, moving everything along and fastening the ridge aerators with self-tapping screws. We've covered almost the entire roof and we're securing our ridge flush, which will protect us from precipitation in the future. Next, I secured the ridge shingles and our roof started to look just gorgeous. It ended up looking like this. Look, I really like the work we've done. I'm really glad that our house now has such a gorgeous roof. It's very unique, reliable, sturdy, and most importantly, quiet. Now the weather won't bother us, and we can continue building our house under the roof. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you found it interesting, but for now, I'll say goodbye. See you in the next videos. Bye.